Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
There are no words that can capture the horror and the evil of this unspeakable act. Children are dead. There are families that have a deceased child. You cannot put into words the gravity, the tragedy, or the absolute pain of this situation. We are a Minneapolis family. But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
This is James Golden, Bo Snerdley. Welcome, my friends, to the Wednesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. We open today with the words of Mayor Jacob Frey from Minneapolis, who was standing outside the location, I believe, of the Ascension School, Catholic school, and church, where this horrible shooting took place today. What we know is that 2 children have been killed. We also know there was an adult. The killer, the mass shooter, has been identified. He took his own life. And there is a lot that is being said about it, that will be said about it in the coming days. There is a lot of contention in some quarters over the words that Mayor Jacob Frey used when he said this isn't just about thoughts and prayers. In fact, that was discussed with Amy Klobuchar, senator from the state, who was on with Dana Bash on CNN. That's cut 3. Let's just quickly play that and just move on to some other things we want to get to.
I mean, he's expressing something that I know you feel and most people feel, which is a combination of sadness, but raw rage. Forget about thoughts and prayers. These kids were literally praying when they were murdered through a church window.
It's unbelievable. And Jacob, the mayor, and his wife Sarah just had a second baby. So I know he knows this just gutturally of how this feels.
He knows how this feels. He just had a second baby. He doesn't know how it feels to have many people don't know how it feels to lose your child in such a horrible manner. There are a few things I want to say about this. One is that we are getting a glimpse of who this killer, this murderer is. Goes by the name of Robert and Robin. In fact, several news reports on that. There are many people on social media already identifying him as a transgender. to me, that has not been verified yet, meaning transgender. Was he chemically transgendered, or is he just a person that identifies of something? Do we know that for certain? No. So I'm going to just say that I don't know yet. But it's apparent that something is going here. If you listen to MSNBC's report of it, one report, they're actually using the pronouns in their newscast. And let's just take a quick listen at that. That's cut 5. This was the news report where the identification of the school killer, you'll hear them in the report using the them, they pronouns. So
we continue to follow the breaking news of the deadly shooting at a church in Minneapolis where 2 children were killed and 6 more children are in critical condition, along with others who were injured in this shooting. But we now have an identification on the shooter. Let me bring in MSNBC's Mark Santia along with Christopher O'Leary, a former FBI counterterrorism official. All we knew up until this point, Mark, the brief description we got at the press conference was early 20s, wearing black clothing, cargo-like pants, but now we know who this person is.
You're right, Chris. And according to multiple senior law enforcement officials briefed on this matter, they say federal law enforcement has identified the Minneapolis church shooter as Robin Westman. Now, police have said publicly that Robin Westman is in their 20s with a limited criminal history. NBC News has confirmed with those same law enforcement officials that the suspect left behind videos that were posted online. There were writings that referenced suicide as well as extremely violent thoughts and ideas. There was an apology to their family and a handwritten sketch of the interior layout of a church. Now, Chris, it's not clear or confirmed if that sketch, that individual sketch, is the church where the shooter eventually opened fire, but that's what we know right now. So Robin Westman has been identified by federal law enforcement as the shooter this morning.
Some of the other news reports were, and I'll find it if need be, the shooter has been identified as Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman, says the UK Telegraph. And that, of course, you can find in other reports. He's been listed both as Robert and as Robin. Now, the Star Tribune in Minneapolis has a story in which I'm just going to read part of it. They're covering it, as many outlets do, with updates by timeline. And so this was from the timeline in the Star Review at 2:30 p.m. this afternoon, a video posted Wednesday on a YouTube channel that appears to have belonged to Westman, displays 4 guns, ammunition, a letter to family and friends, and clothing the narrator apparently planned to wear tomorrow, meaning today. The video was posted yesterday. The firearms shown are a rifle, a shotgun, 2 handguns. At times menacing, laughing maniacally, and other times quietly apologizing to family, the narrator speaks about plans to injure children without remorse. Invoking names of a multinational investment company, an oil company, a beer company, as well as a Second Amendment activist running for Congress in Texas. Words, phrases, and drawings had been scrawled in the marker all over the weapons and magazines, some of the messages anti-Semitic. One reading, "Kill Donald Trump." The narrator displays a 4-page letter to friends and family that says to the narrator's parents, "I'm sorry I didn't turn out as you had hoped." There are references to a pedophile and a rapist, and hostility about Christianity, including the image of Jesus on a shooting target, and phrases scrawled on the gun such as, "Where's your God now?" There's a lot, that is going to be said. I want to say a few things about this. Number one, this country today is grief-stricken. But I want to remind every single person here listening to my voice, this weekend in Chicago, there were more people killed and injured in gunfire than what happened this morning. You didn't hear much about it. You won't hear much about it. over the country almost every single week of this year. There are children that are killed in shootings. Their names don't merit the daily news, meaning the news that you see on TV. Their pictures are not flashed up on TV screens. Their names aren't mentioned. And if we put all of them on a daily basis from what is happening inside American cities and around the country, not just the cities, if we put them on a newscast every night, there would be no time for any other news during the allotted hour or of a newscast, because there are so many. Again, just in Chicago, where some of the same people today are on TV lamenting. And there was another MSNBC that we can play it for you right now, where you'll hear the senator from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, and here it is. This is cut 8. Let's just listen to this for one moment. Now I'll resume this point.
It, of course, makes me think about guns and all the work we've done to ban these automatic rifles and to do something when it comes to the background checks and everything, and we keep getting thwarted. We were able to pass a limited measure on a bipartisan basis, but not enough to stop something like this. And it just makes you think about that as well without knowing the details about how he got that gun, if the gun was legal, what kind of gun it was. But it was clearly one of these automatic rifles to be able to shoot that many kids so fast.
Earlier this year, of course, I think about the attacker who shot 2 Minnesota state lawmakers in their homes near Minneapolis.
So you see, the conversation then moved. Trey Gowdy made some remarks, too. He was on Fox. And this is what Trey Gowdy said, cut 6. Listen.
Our system is reactive. Something bad happens, we react to it. And what people are crying for now is, how can we prevent this? How can we stop it? And the only way to stop it is to identify the shooter ahead of time or keep the weapons out of their hands. And so we're going to have a conversation of freedom versus protecting children. I mean, how many school shootings does it take before we're going to have a conversation about keeping firearms out? It's always a young white male, almost always. I mean, did anyone this morning think, I wonder if that was a female? Did any of y'all think that? I mean, there's been one school shooting involving a female. One. Yeah, Tennessee. But other than that, it is usually young white males.
Okay, so it's usually young white males. In these mass shootings, it's usually young white males in these mass shootings. And we need to have a conversation about that. We need to have a conversation to see, how do we get these guns out? Well, you know, it is not always young white males. We're going to do this, and then we're going to head to break. Cut 16. I just want you to listen to this ABC News report, local ABC News, yesterday.
We have plenty of detectives still here in that shopping center, all those evidence markers that you see on the ground there as well. This is Century and Main here in South LA. Now, this shopping center, this has ANS Market and Tobacco, and next to it is a barber shop, and that's where the shooting has appeared to happen. Now, this is just blocks away from another shooting that happened earlier this week. Overnight gunfire turned deadly in South LA. Police say around 11:30 last night, 3 men pulled up in a car, got out, and opened fire on 2 people in this parking lot near Century and Main. 1 man was killed, and a second victim was rushed to the hospital. His condition is unknown. Now, just a couple miles away and less than 48 hours earlier, 5 people were shot outside a South LA corner store. It's unknown if last night's incident is related to Tuesday's shooting, but the gunmen from Tuesday also remain at large.
Yeah,
the senselessness
well,
and the callousness of where they did it and when they did it.
I guarantee you, these were not young white men out shooting up South Central Los Angeles. These are mass shootings. As I said, there were mass shootings in Chicago last week, over the weekend. 20-some-odd people, at least injured, over 3-4 dead, every single day. But yet you have this collective outrage as a country in America. Of course, there's outrage when children are shot, but there are children being shot, killed, stabbed, sexually abused, sexually trafficked, sexually harassed every single day of the week. And the same people that today are demanding action, demanding that something be done every single day of the week. Many of these same people for the last 3-4 weeks have been criticizing the President of the United States, have been criticizing presidential agents of our federal government as they try to clean up the streets to get guns out of the hands, and they've confiscated hundreds of guns. We're coming back. We're late on a break. Next segment is going to be really short. James Golden. Snerdley, fastest 1 hour in American media continues. Do not ever go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I want to remind you folks that about this paragraph that was in the Star Tribune coverage. There are references to a pedophile, a rapist, and hostility about Christianity, including the image of Jesus on a shooting target and phrases scrawled on the gun, such as, "Where's your God now?" This attack on Christianity in our country has been engaged in no less the top of the federal government. You will recall under the Biden administration, we reported, and many other people reported, on the FBI when they were trying to investigate Catholics, particularly traditional Catholics, as being linked to terrorism. There's been one political party who has attacked Christians and because of their beliefs when it comes to matters of human sexuality and genderism. This has been a relentless war in some quarters, not only against God, but against the believers of God. We're going to have more on that when we get back. That's part of this mix, my friends.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I have a biochem midterm today, but Taylor and Travis just got engaged. Due to this information, I can't focus, you all can't focus, class is canceled, get out of here. We gotta go. We need time to process this information.
Unbelievable. College course, University of Tennessee, biochem. Classes, you're paying for those classes with your student loans, and he's canceling them because, oh man. Anyway, now, I would like to get back to what I briefly was opening up this before we left for our short break. There are references to a pedophile, a rapist, and hostility about Christianity. Hostility about Christianity. Hostility about Christianity. We in this country this goes back well over a decade, 2 decades. Hostility to Christianity. Hostility to Christianity's traditions, hostilities to people who openly declare themselves to be Christian and try to live a Christian life in particular. And this goes in a way, it's not just Christians, but in America it is more pronounced because the attacks are so open on Christians, and particularly among the political class. We have had efforts, and there are efforts in this country to declare that because Christianity's teachings do not comport with how people view sexuality and what should not be permitted in people's lives, what people choose to do with their lives, that somehow or another Christianity is a bigoted religion. You've heard that. We've heard it. We hear it, everything from these attacks on let's drive Christian tradition out of the public square. So let's forget that Christmas time is about celebrating the birth of the being that is the center of Christianity, that being, of course, Christ. But let's forget that and just call it Happy Holidays and just make it a plain holiday season so not to offend anybody. We've had even more open attacks, as I said, during the Biden years. Joe Biden himself talks about what a devout Catholic he is, but his own FBI was investigating traditional Catholics as somehow being a threat to the nation. Terrorist. This did happen. And now let's talk about the attacks, particular on the Catholic Church. And these go way back too. You will remember a certain advocacy group was holding demonstrations, disrupting masses, vandalizing churches, vandalizing especially Catholic churches when their teachings, they thought, were against this idea. And when people would quote certain scriptures and reference them, they were called bigots. So this has been going on in America for quite some time, especially now. And again, I don't know for a fact whether this guy that calls himself Robin, and by the way, when you see pictures of him, you'll see two different pictures. One, clearly he's a male. Another, the hairstyle is of a girl, and with earrings and makeup, looks like a girl. So I'm assuming that's where people are saying, okay, this guy's transgendered. I don't know whether he is chemically transgendered or not. I don't know whether he identifies himself as a transgender. But somebody put on there, somebody put on a post in social media that there have been a list now, and they were compiling a list of transgender mass shootings that originated by transgenders. I didn't have time to do the background research on all of them, so I just put it in a folder to look at. But I do know one thing for sure. I do know about the drugs that transgenders are using. I know it from personal experience. Not because I am transgendered or had any interest ever in doing it, because those same drugs were developed to fight cancer. And I had the particular kind of cancer that these drugs are meant to fight. They are drugs that affect your hormones. So if you're a male, what they do is they stop your testosterone production by mimicking testosterone while they really put estrogen in your body. That's useful in cancer treatment because one of the things that fuels prostate cancer is testosterone. So while you're undergoing treatment, they stop the production of testosterone, fool the body into thinking it's getting it while they're flooding your body with estrogen. It has effects. I have man boobs I'm still trying to get rid of. My cancer was years ago. But what it does to your psyche, what it does to you with this hormone thing is almost inexplicable to anyone who hasn't gone through it. I had a friend that I went through my treatment with, and we lost track. After treatment was over, he went his way, I went my way for a while. But I kept trying to check on him, and I couldn't get in touch with him for about a year. And finally, when I got in touch with him, it was a horror story. A horror story of emotions. Because with these drugs, you are consistently challenged, sometimes with rage, sometimes with depression, to the point that your depression makes one have suicidal thoughts. Not uncommon, which is why you're recommended while you're going through this treatment to talk with somebody, engage a professional while you're going through this treatment because of what it does to your body and your mind and your psychology. I finally reached out to my friend, and he told me a horror story of how he had been on, the warpath for over a year. Just enraging people. He was in a hospital when I finally caught up with him. And I asked him, how come you didn't call me? How come you didn't talk to me earlier? And he made me cry when he gave me his answer. He said, because I needed to have one friend left in the world. He had alienated almost everyone in his life because he was so enraged. The rage that he could not control. And we both said, when we were consoling each other, nobody could have told us what these drugs would do to us psychologically until we experienced it. Folks, these drugs are so powerful that when they are administered, I had to have mine administered, they give you a shot in the booty with a needle that looks like it's the size of a limb of mine, but the nurses had to dress in hazmat gear and full protection gloves to administer. These drugs are powerful. And what are we doing as a society? They were never intended for the purpose they're being used now, for transformation of sex, for gender transformation. I can't imagine giving these drugs to children. It is hard enough for adults to deal with them. I can't imagine what it must be like growing up, taking these drugs, if that is what happened here, and dealing with the rage, the psychosis, and everything else that comes from these incredibly powerful drugs interacting with these hormones of children, young people that are still growing. I can't imagine it. And I am telling you, if it does turn out that this person was transgendered and taking these drugs, then folks, Trey Gowdy's talking about, we need to have a conversation about, no, we need to have a conversation about what we are doing to children in this country. And if indeed we are seeing a pattern of these transgender shootings and these transgender rages, and they're all saying the same thing, it is time to stop. It is time to stop doing this and not having people understand how powerful these drugs are that children are taking, if that is what is behind it. It is also time, yes, to have a real conversation about safety and to have a real conversation about the sanctity of life. My heart breaks and I want to cry every time I think about these children sitting in church, worshiping God, being gunned down because some deranged person is hateful of them without even knowing who they are. But I am equally heartbroken over what happens every single day in this country, in every city across this country, where you have these mass shootings, but nobody gives a damn when the mass shootings are just taking out people that Democrats obviously don't care about because they run these cities. And anytime you have someone trying to go in and clean up these cities, Democrats are opposed to it. These murders, these things happen every single day. All over America. Amy Klobuchar is not on TV when these things are happening out in L.A., in New York, in Chicago, talking about how horrible it is. None of these Democrats. Trey Gowdy's not out on Fox talking about we got to get these guns and have to have a conversation about freedom and protecting children, when it's these little black and brown and white kids that are being killed in these cities every day and bullied and murdered and raped and who knows what else by these criminals. No one gives a damn when it's happening in the inner cities of this country every single freaking day of the year. It's not a stop. Here's this story. And I'm not saying that to take away from the horror of what happened today. What happened today was horrible. But this is a horror that happens across America every single day of the week. And then what you get when someone tries to stop it. Cut 12. Then you get, if you're the Secretary of Agriculture and you want to go on CNN, this is what you get when you go on CNN and talk to this Caitlin Collins dame.
Comes to the administration is only threatening to deploy the National Guard to Democratic-led cities or Democratic-run states. There is crime in Republican-led states. Why is it only blue states or blue cities that the administration is targeting?
Well, I'd say targeting. I think that President Trump has said it again today over and over, during our cabinet meeting when the press was there, said that, what he would like best if he got invited in. I mean, he doesn't understand why this is an issue that...
But they're saying it's not necessary to send in the National Guard.
Well, yeah. That's what they're saying. Quickly, we know that. Quick, 13, real quick. Scott Jennings. This is what Scott Jennings has to put up with on that Abby show. That should really be the Scott Jennings show.
And it's also because the military serves a role to protect Americans, not to be used against Americans.
Exactly. You keep saying used against Americans. What kind of Americans do you mean? The ones that are murdering us, carjacking us, raping us, terrorizing our cities? I mean, you're saying like he's creating an actual war against American citizens when what he's actually creating is a war against criminals and, by the way, illegal aliens who they are rounding up by the bucket load in Washington.
I want to let Ellie...
Of course politics is going on here. I mean, you said that they should be asking for federal resources, but that would be an admission that they have lost control of their cities.
That's
so
not losing
Brandon
control.
Johnson...
Okay, and it just goes on and on with the same liberal blather. You see, everything has now come to politics. And these issues shouldn't be political at all. Human life should be sacred enough that we care when children are dying, whether they're a little black kid in these inner cities, whether it's a little brown kid, little white kid in these inner cities, no matter where. We shouldn't, the place should make a difference. We should have the same kind of empathy, the same kind of horror when this happens. It happens every day in America. And we focus on it when these mass shootings happen at a certain location, be it church, be it a school, but every day in America. And it needs to stop. James Golden. Snerdley, fastest hour in American media continues. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden with you here, above Snerdley fastest hour in American media. Folks, I'm very serious about this. I agree with Trey Gowdy about one thing, and I agree, how many times, it's not just Trey, it's everybody. We all want to see these mass shootings stop. And Democrats always like to talk about root causes, while at the same time, nobody really wants to address the root causes of what could be happening. And again, I'm not sure. I'm not trying to pass it off as some expert, but I can tell you this from personal experience. If these if this person does turn out to be transgendered and chemically transgendered, it will not be the first incident. And if we are seeing a pattern developing, somebody needs to get involved and take a look. Because these drugs that are used for this purpose, you have no idea how powerful they are and what they do to you, what they can do to you. And then once again, to repeat it, don't want to be overly repetitious. I can't imagine, as a grown adult, when I had to experience these things, I can't imagine what they would do to children who are not developed, who are still going through puberty, or in some cases prepubescent. And no one has ever even studied this. This is just, it's just, folks, we'll see. But regardless whether he is transgendered, she is transgendered, he is, these shootings, again, my central point today is America does deserve to be safe. And our selective outrage should not just be on horrible days like this, but every day of the week in cities all around America. James Golden, Snerdley here. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, Almighty God willing, we're back tomorrow for another edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, my friends, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?